I want to kick off really with trying to put our finger on exactly where it went wrong, and there's multiple areas you'd have to say, Chris. But for you, what was sort of the biggest problem in that Liverpool performance today?
Arsenal were really good, to be honest with you. I thought they were much better than us. Thought Arsenal's game plan was really good. I think, they didn't want us to play with the football in the centre of the park, and I felt like Gravenberch and Kurt Jones just didn't get on the ball in the right areas of the field for us. And, I think they knew exactly what we were going to do. They weren't surprised by Trent playing out on the right-hand side and sort of keeping the width. And they weren't surprised by Joe Gomez coming inside. And they used Joe Gomez as a bit of a trigger for their press, I felt like, and just made sure that they harried him and stuff like that. So I think, generally speaking, you've got to put your hands up and say, I don't know about you, John, but I just thought Arsenal were the better side today and we had a real off day.
I think that's true. I mean, I think we were dreadful all the way from start to finish, and a lot of it was, as you say, that Arsenal were playing very, very well, and everything they tried came off. I mean, our midfield was non-existent for most of the first half, and our centre-backs were playing the ball around and not moving. There were long stretches when the ball didn't leave our half, and you're just asking for trouble in those kind of circumstances. I would say one thing positively, though, if we hadn't given them the second goal, I think we'd have got a draw, even though we were terrible and they were much, much better.
Yeah,
it just hinges on those kind of moments, and you can't afford to have catastrophic goals given away like that. It's just ridiculous at that level.
It was, especially when it's two of your better players, first and foremost, but your two leaders, your two experienced lads at the back, the type of people you turn to when you're not at it, like we weren't today. You'd want them to sort of stand above the rest and say, don't worry about it, I've got this, it's all calm. And for those two to be at the heart of a catastrophic mess up like that, it kind of typifies and sums up what was going on with Liverpool today, because it wasn't good. It wasn't good from start to finish, as you reference as well. And for me, just a bit passive at times, I felt, and frustratingly second balls. And second balls do my head in when you're not winning enough of them. And it felt like every single one of them Arsenal were just onto time and time again. And if that happens more often than not, you end up on the wrong side of the result, essentially.
Yeah, you're right.
It just wasn't what I've come to expect from Liverpool. I don't think we've been anywhere near full tilt this season. I think we were a little bit of midweek against Chelsea, but this was the polar opposite of that for me. There was just no energy about us whatsoever.
You build and you build and you build in terms of performances while Salah's been away and since Christmas and whatever, and they've been getting better and better, and that was epitomised on, in the week against Chelsea, because you're right, every second ball we won against Chelsea. And yet it was Arsenal this time, and their centre-halves are two very, very strong players, and we didn't have anything. But I think we get our selection wrong with Núñez not starting, and I think we get our subs wrong as well. I mean, I say we got our selection wrong with Núñez not starting, but he didn't really do anything in terms of when he came onto the field.
No.
But then we didn't see him on the left, which is where he gave Arsenal such a problem in the cup game when he came on, and it seemed a bit daft that we didn't utilise that. And
Ben White had been booked as well.
And so like in terms of the selection, it's easy to look back now and say that, but I think we got it wrong, and that's the first game in weeks where I think Klopp's subs have had an impact as well.
No, that's right. I mean, the game was getting away from us as it was, but nothing really came from there at all, did it? And our midfield had been terrible before they came on, and it was no better when they did come on. Harvey Elliott ended up firefighting down the flank, didn't he?
From Louis Diaz at right back.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying in the last few weeks that we're a completely different. We look a different side when Trent's on the pitch. He looks world class, and he's strutting around, and he's getting passes all over the pitch. He was anonymous for the first half an hour. And then when they did start to get the ball to him, I mean, there was nowhere for it to go. I mean, there was no pressure in their box at all, I mean, it just didn't work. No. It was just wrong.
Always everything we tried didn't work. I totally agree with you. I think they tried a tactical switch in the first half, and it felt like we might have got a little bit more joy. We actually started the second half okay, but as soon as Arsenal got to grips with that again, we just were non-existent pretty much from there on out. But like I say, I think if Liverpool aren't going to be good, which we weren't today, the last thing you need is bad errors. It was an error-laden performance from Liverpool, and when you're playing badly and you're throwing really bad mistakes into the mix as well, it's the recipe for disaster.
I don't think they really looked like they would score lots of goals. I mean, they weren't really. I mean, yes, they attacked, and yes, they looked threatening because they're moving the ball around so slickly. But Alisson wasn't making loads of great saves, and we weren't kicking them off the line, and they weren't hitting the woodwork. Suddenly we just give them a goal out of the blue when we're sort of getting a little bit of a hand in the game. When we weren't dominating the game by any means, but at least we were getting a bit of a foothold. And you thought, well, maybe, Diaz was probing along the wings and stuff. You thought maybe he could do something, but suddenly you give the ball away and you're getting beaten, and the whole ground goes up, doesn't it? And the players get an extra buzz in their step and everything, and then it becomes really difficult.
And we had the opportunity, Dan, didn't we, where you give them a sucker punch going into half time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you think, can you capitalise on that in the second half? And we just didn't.
No.
What's frustrated me the most is they held us at arm's length today. And I think that's why I'm annoyed, because they were the better side and we didn't really lay a glove on them ourselves.
No.
Our goal is a shocker. Two of their goals were shockers, but our goal's a shock, and we didn't deserve it.
No.
And so the better team won, and that's the thing that hurts.
No, absolutely, 100%, yeah. And it was a bit of a robbery to go in at half-time level, to be honest with you. And had we got anything from the game, realistically, if we're being dead honest, it would have been a bit of a robbery in itself, because we were nowhere near Arsenal today. We just weren't in any way, shape or form. And it's frustrating because obviously it was a big game. It would have meant a lot to get out of there with a draw, quite frankly. But it was in such stark contrast from what we've seen in recent weeks from Liverpool. It was the polar opposite from what we've seen in midweek against Chelsea. So it
would have been robbery if we'd got away with a draw.
Quite possibly,
we could easily have done it if we hadn't shot ourselves in the foot. And everything we were doing was giving them opportunities. We were passing the ball badly. We were, not covering properly, not pressing properly, all over the pitch. We were just giving them opportunities.
We got away with a couple of scares, really. I mean, Trent gave it away early doors in the first half.
Saka missed
when we were 1-0. Yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately, you're right, because their goals, when you if you analyse them, you didn't watch the game and just seeing the goals, you'd see one open goal for Saka, which comes from an Alisson save. So a little bit unfortunate there. Obviously, there's the calamitous mix-up between Alisson and Verge, so that's just us being bad, essentially, at the back. And then you've got a little deflection off Van Dijk for the third. So if you just seen that, you went,
and by that time you've lost a defender. You've taken your full back off. And
ultimately, when you watch the whole 90 odd minutes, Liverpool weren't very good. So that's what it boils down to. But really frustrating, really annoying.
We probably look great on Match of the Day tonight.
But also, we're not out of it, is what I'd say. Because I've seen loads.
Maybe in standard def, not in high definition.
I've seen loads of doom mongering on social media already.
That's right,
that's title race done. It's not quite.
Well, I mean, the problem with this isn't that Arsenal are now going to win the league. The problem now is the City are much, much more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got 2 games in hand, and back in the driving seat. Yes, we've got to play them at Anfield, and they've got to play Arsenal themselves. So there's a long way to go, and you shouldn't. Given the way we played all season, you still have to be optimistic, don't you?
Yeah. The thing is, today's a missed opportunity, isn't it? Because you've got a chance to cut a head off a dragon here. It was a 3-horse race, and it could have become a 2-horse race.
That's right.
And it's not. Now it's 3-horse race. It is technically still in our hands because we do get to play Manchester City, but we're not in the driving seat anymore, are we?
No. Frustrating, and like I say, self-inflicted defeat ultimately, which is all the more annoying.